years ago, Joy and I had friends, probably our best friends at the time. They had two kids that were like 10 and 6. And even though they weren't rich, they weren't poor. And if they saved their money, they could do basically whatever they wanted. So they decided one spring break they were going to take their kids to Disney World. So they got the plane tickets made, all of the reservations. I'm telling you, it was incredible. They bought the pass where you could go to all four parks. They stayed at one of the hotels there in the park. Everything you could do. They bought a meal plan for their kids. So there was four of them, and I looked it up in preparation for what I was going to say today. And today, without the plane tickets or the rental car, it would cost about $6,700 to do the Disney trip that they made. Then on top of that, it was spring training camp for baseball teams. And one day they went over there, and believe it or not, that costs money too. You have to buy a ticket, and they came back to their hotel and spent another day at Disney. So they had spent really 6 days down there, and then flew back home. When they got back home from their trip, a week or two later, we had dinner together, and we were all listening to them see their pictures and different things about their trip to Disney and what a great time it was and what a great time they had. And then I looked over at their 10-year-old boy and I said, "Hey man, how'd you like it?" And he mumbled something to me. I couldn't really understand it. And I said, "What?" And he said, "We didn't go to SeaWorld." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I wanted to go to SeaWorld." "You wanted to go to SeaWorld?" "Yes." And he said, "Dad wouldn't let us go." So here's what we have. We have the ultimate pass to go to Disney World for 4 or 5 days. We stay at this hotel that is there in the Disney complex. We have a meal plan at any of the Disney restaurants there. And then one day we go to spring training at one of the Major Leagues teams. We do all of this stuff, and somewhere along the way he said, "I want to go to SeaWorld." And his dad said, "No, I think we've done enough." And truly, I mean, we're talking probably $10,000 that they had spent on this spring break trip. This one child, his takeaway from this experience was he didn't get to go to SeaWorld. Now, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but gratitude or being grateful or thankful for things is not really natural to us. It's not our default mechanism to just be overwhelmed by thankfulness or gratefulness. And so it's something that really you have to learn. I mean, you have to make yourself identify things in life that are good just because they're there, or it could have been much worse. I have 2 knees that have been replaced, and every so often they can still bother me. So I was back at the surgeon that did, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago, that did the surgery on them. And I was telling him, I was like, I've got this one. Sometimes it makes funny noises, and I wake up in the middle of the night and it'll hurt. And I was just telling him this sad story that I had. And he said, first of all, he said, the knees that you have in there now, they weren't made to be in there. It's unnatural. And he says, only through the miracle of medicine and science today do you have those knees. But he said, they're not ever going to be like the knees you had when you were 35 years old. So I thought about this. I thought about, well, maybe I need to think about the fact that 50 years ago, I would be in a wheelchair, because they didn't do knee replacements 50 years ago, and I still would have bad knees. And other than wheelchair or going from chair to chair with crutches or a cane, that would pretty much be my destiny for that time in life. So this is relatively new that we take one set of knees out and put another set of knees in there. So I never thought about that. So I need to make myself identify that. And then every time my knee hurts or every time it makes a funny noise, then I have to say to myself, listen, you need to be grateful. You need to be grateful for the fact that you have knees that allow you to function at about 80 to 90% of what you would have had you not been able to have this surgery. Gratitude is learned. Thankfulness is learned. And I wish I could say that it's permanent, But it's something that, at least me, I have to keep learning and relearning. I have to keep focusing and refocusing on good things in my life and pushing down things that are not so good, because those other things just have a way of constantly coming back. So when I think about the things in my life that are good, it's because I've identified them. I have focused on them. I talk about them. I share them. And I try to do the opposite with what is natural. See, it's natural for me to want to talk about what's hurting, what I don't like, or, how much I paid for something, and then the next day, hey, I could have gotten it for this price. You see, all of that is natural. So I need to learn or make myself identify what is good, what could have been had I not had this, and focus on those things. Listen, yeah, maybe you didn't go to SeaWorld, but look at all the rest of the things that you have. I say this to myself almost every morning because I wake up as an American, literally. I'm better than most people on the planet, really. I mean, just waking up as an American is huge. It's enormous. And I think that I should be grateful for that. And I should focus on being grateful for that. You should too. I want you to subscribe to this. I want you to share this. And the more viewers that I get, the higher up in the algorithm that it gets. And the more of these I can make. Now, I'm not an expert at this yet. And I want you to tell me what you think would make it better. And you can do that with the email address that I'm going to give you at the end of this. But I want to hear your ideas and maybe tell me your stories. There's not enough great stories that we share, even though there's great stories in our lives. This is Ken, and this is Storycast, and I just shared 2 stories with you.